Uh, uh, One thing I wanted to encourage folks is just being recorded, I see, is to check out the Zoom webinar that we did about a week ago, and it's on the ARC website. And so that gives you, there were lots of good presentations. So uh, uh, I guess we'll just go ahead and jump in. But first, Hannah, do you just want to say anything? And then, given there's not that many people, maybe we can all kind of go around and introduce ourselves. um, um, so I'll do that first and then hand it to you, Hannah, in a minute. Yeah, my name's, as I said, John Rulak, co-founder of ARC. I live on the West Coast here in the United States. I've been a big fan of planting trees and protecting trees for many decades, and also helped produce the film Kiss the Ground that's on Netflix, all about regenerative ag. So yeah, if everyone maybe keep their their introduction to 30 seconds from kind of where you are and what organization or what you're doing quickly. Hannah, and then maybe introduce to someone else.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I know several of you through the work that I do with Abundant Earth Foundation, and now, of course, with ARC. And I just want to say how proud I am of all of the amazing work that you're doing to help raise your community up out of poverty using agroforestry and permaculture and other techniques. And we're excited to work as hard as we can here on the other side of the planet to try to help support your efforts. And really looking forward to, yes, as John said, learning from each other so that we can be more effective and find efficient ways to do this work. So I would like to pass it to Stella, who has been an amazing help in pulling together ARC, the agroforestry regenerative communities. And so Stella, if you'd like to say a quick hello and then pass it on to somebody else.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Stella. I'm joining from Nairobi, and I help ARC and the Abundant Earth Foundation with project coordination. Yeah, if you see me muting you, it's because you're on. So everyone, please mute yourself if you're not speaking. Otherwise, thank you for being here. I'll pass it on to Geoffrey Oma, because I was doing that to him earlier, muting him. So Geoffrey, please go ahead.
And you will have to physically unmute yourself before you're able to speak each time.
Hello. Yes, my name is Geoffrey Ouma, a founder of Mabinju Power. I'm dealing with the tree planting, 1 million tree planting in Shire County. I'm partner with the Willis. Yes.
You can ask someone else to,
yeah. And then each person, if you can introduce, hand the talking stick to the next person, whoever you want to. Thank you, Geoffrey.
It might save time maybe if we just call on somebody. Jackson, would you like to say hello? Great to see you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you so much, Hannah. My name is Jackson Buzingo from Tanzania. I'm working with tomorrow non-profit organization called One More Sari that we're also focusing on pushing regenerative farming in Tanzania. Thank you. I'd like to pass to Jonathan.
Hello. Hello everyone. My name is Jonathan Olwenyi. I'm the founder of Iweka Uganda, a community-founded non-government organization working on environment and social development. I'm from Uganda, East Africa, and I'm so happy to be here tonight with you. Thank you. I pass the next.
So I didn't hear who you passed it to.
Yeah, Willis, why don't you go?
Hello, everyone. I'm Willis Orum from Rusinga Island in Kenya. Currently, I'm working with some of the team that are here. Some were supposed to be joining, but I think it's a matter of internet. We have two ladies that are supposed to be working with us, Anna and Judith. And I'm trying to work with the big group that I wish would be joining soon. Would like to pass it to Ola. Ola.
Hola, Tom. Are you able to unmute and say a quick
Yes,
hello?
please. I'm around. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Go ahead.
My internet is a bit laggy.
We can hear you if you want to say a few words about your work and where you're at.
Come again?
Do you want to say who you are and where you're calling in from and the organizations that you work with?
Oh, yeah. I'm Olatom. I'm calling from Palabek Refugee Settlement at the moment, Kidgum, Northern Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Biswick.
Hi, everyone. My name is Biswick, Collector, Democratic Paradise Institute. With over 17 years experience in teaching permaculture, not just in Malawi.
Hello, everyone. I'm Christopher Marvin Tumusine, calling in from Uganda.
I got muted. My name is Loyal Biswick, founding director, Permaculture Paradise Institute in Malawi. Got over 17 years experience in teaching permaculture, not just in Malawi. I've done courses in all the districts in Malawi and in many parts of the world, most in Africa. We work with farmers. We put Permaculture Demonstration Center in Mchinji district in the central. And we also work with 400 farmers. Talk about that in the presentation as I'll be talking about the nurseries. Our work focuses on capacity building. We build capacity of farmers and individuals, couples, and families and organizations. I also work as European Union climate champion in Malawi. And I do facilitate all the training for the European Union delegation to Malawi in relation to climate change. And we also work with partner organizations and training youths who never had a chance to go to university and farmers as well as individuals. I'll talk more about our organization and the work that we do in the presentation. Thank you so much. And I pass on to, let me see, Jonathan Olwenyi. I just read the name. Thank you.
Hello. They introduced myself already. My name is Jonathan Olwenyi. I'm from Uganda, East Africa, and I'm the founder of IWECA Uganda, a community youth-led non-government organization working on environment and social development. I'm so happy to be here. I pass on to Robert, if he's available.
Hello, everyone. I'm West Robert from Uganda, the founder of Chivengo Youth Care Activists. We are operating in southwestern Uganda in the refugee hosting communities of Nakiva refugee settlement. We have been planting trees for a decade, And now we are in love of planting trees and to save the acute malnutrition present in the region, which has disturbed the World Food Program. But we as youth, we are trying to work on tree planting to save and increase the vitamins in the people of the community. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I am Christopher Marvin Tumusime. I am from Uganda. I am part of Trinity Forestry Services, a social enterprise through agroforestry models. I am very glad to be here and excited to.
Wonderful. Dean, would you like to say a quick hello?
Yes,
Hello.
I can. I'm Dean from Roatan in Honduras in the Caribbean. We have a small tree planting project. I'm kind of new to ARC and their work, so I'm just kind of sitting in to hear more about what everyone's doing. Thank you.
Excellent. Welcome. Nasani. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Yes, why don't you go?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, I'm Nyanzi Moses from Uganda. I'm representing Trinity Forestry Services. We are doing tree planting in an agroforestry model. And thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Let's see. And Andy's still joining. Mulanda. Excuse me again if I mispronounce your name. Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes,
Are
go
you
ahead.
getting me?
Yes.
Yes. By the name, Mulanda Benjamin. I'm joining from Kalobe settlement in Turkana West, Kenya. I'm at 13 kilometers from Kakuma refugee camp. I'm working with Kalobe Initiative for Better Life. I'm the livelihood coordinator. I'm also a permaculture practitioner or permaculturalist. And also I do agroforestry. And also we are helping people to have some home gardens and also to have to plant some trees for the good environment. Thank you.
Great.
Thank
Kenneth,
you.
thank you for coming. Kenneth, welcome. You're on mute, I think, Kenneth. You need to unmute yourself if you can.
I'm not sure the internet's quite strong enough for you, Kenneth, if you maybe want to type your introduction in the chat.
Yeah.
Or turn off your video when you speak, might also help. Okay, yeah.
Based in share. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can try. Yeah, just make a brief, yeah, we can hear you a little.
Okay, so I'm based in Sia County, Victoria Shores community, which is as a way of getting youths to protect the environment through planting of trees. And also, we are also engaged in aquaculture as a way of helping our women from poverty and income from they are being taught on now farming. Thank you.
Thank you for joining. Marceline, I'm glad you could join us today. Would you like to say hello, a little bit about your work?
Thanks so much, Anna. Hi. Yes, my name is Marceline Munga Petro from Kakuma Refugee Camp. A CEO and founder of Farming and Health Education, a Kakuma Refugee Permaculture Coordinator. Currently, I'm working with the Tribog project. Tribog is a kind of sanitation toilet, compost, and it's just planted trees around. And this make me now to come up with a tree nursery plantation. After seeing that by having tree bog, it need to have some trees around. So now I decided now to come with the tree nursery project, for which we started small according for the resources that we have. So I'm happy to join this group today, and I hope that I will learn more from the experience of each other. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, wonderful work that you're doing. Glad to have you. Dean, I'm sorry, have you said a quick hello?
He did. Yeah, Dean.
Okay, great.
From Honduras. And I wanted to welcome him. He found out about ARC, and he's, in Honduras close to contour lines. And so he's seeing what is going more, working with some of the local farmers there. So, and that's on an island. That's it's in Honduras. So that's interesting, the connection there. Anybody else who hasn't spoken, just go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll get going here shortly.
Yeah, and we have a few in the chat, maybe from people who hasn't. And yeah, Andy, are you still on here? Okay. Right, Andy dropped off. Yeah, there's a few in the chat as well, and so people can.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get going. Yeah, one thing I encourage is everyone in the chat, if you just want to say where you're from also, and your organization, and if you have any links, feel free to share it with people. And then we'll share in a while. ARC has on our website under agroforestry, and we'll put the link on it. There's a form you can fill out if you want to be an ally, and that allows for you to share information where you're located, a little about your project, the type of trees you're planting, workshops, and then people from different people in your community can learn about it, and people around the world. So we'll post that link so you can fill that out. Also, just a little shout out for those who are in Uganda. There is a gentleman named Ray Yoon that I've met over the years. He's Korean, and he's in Uganda for a little while. He is a master at Korean natural farming, which not everyone knows so much about, but it's a style that they learn how to produce natural biologically based fertilizers and pesticides. And he does his work all over in the Philippines and the United States and other countries. He's going to be in Uganda, so we'll try to see if we're trying to introduce him to a few people. But he's really an interesting guy. If you're in Uganda and there's any way you can meet him, he's also like a qigong master, and he connects with people very well and really committed to the environment. He's studied this for many decades. So a shout out to him, and we'll try to get that. So let's go ahead and looks like Dwight, our main speaker, isn't made it yet. Don't see him here. Could be an internet thing. But let's go ahead and turn over to Jackson. And the goal of this is to basically share what people are doing, a few of these three projects, and then we'll after the three presentations, we'll open up to questions. But Jackson, if you want to talk, go ahead and tell us a little about what you're working on in Tanzania. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Yeah, on my end here in Tanzania, I'm working with smallholder farmers as well as the youth communities. After I got an opportunity to learn about syntropic agroforestry, I have already reached out more than 50 smallholder farmers and trained them about syntropic agroforestry. And so far, I have already established more than 14 Syntropic demonstration farms based on Syntropic agroforestry. And so far, we are now also teaming up with the farmers, the ones who were trained about Syntropic agroforestry, in order to establish the tree nursery. So we are aimed about to plant about 1 million trees as well. Different varieties of species like avocado, lemon, orange, Gracidia sepium, casualina, cedrera, eucalyptus, pinus, and moringa. And all these are some of the species that will be planted. So on my end, this is all I can say. The aim of these initiatives is to ensure that they can be able to know how well they can manage their farming and the whole system of farming, and also they can improve their livelihood through establishing the food and the whole value chain. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jackson. Mr. Biswick.
Okay, I'll share a small presentation. So this presentation is specific on nitrogen fixing trees in rainfed agriculture farmland that we're promoting, both on our farm and the farmers we work with. My name is Luayo Biswick, founding director of Permaculture Paradise Institute, and we are based in Malawi, in the center of Malawi. I used to be in Lilongwe, but now our demonstration moved to Mchinji district, which is a 10-minute drive from where we are to Zambia. So we are both Zambian and Malawi. Like I said, we are a demonstration and training center that promotes permaculture systems in Malawi. We are among the largest permaculture demonstration and training center in Malawi. And we are among the training institutions that does a lot of trainings in Malawi. Since we focused on capacity building. But in this presentation, I'm just gonna talk about the tree planting project, which we work with 400 farmers apparently. We started working with 150 farmers, and all of them have planted trees this year, but only 50,000 trees are the ones that are supported by ARC. So I'm going to talk about that later. So far, we are promoting nitrogen fixing trees because we realized that this is a typical Malawian farmland. We realized that the way people farm in Malawi, they cut down all the trees, they slash and burn and clear the land. It's like sweeping. The fields look clean. So we are taking an approach to help the farmers bring back what was there. The only way to help farmers grow and harvest enough food is to bring back what was there, which is the natural vegetation. So I started planting trees and growing trees together with crops 15 years ago. This is me 15 years ago in one of our agroforestry rain-fed farmland, where we're mostly focusing on pigeon peas and fish bean because these are fast-growing trees and they can easily be coppiced and incorporated into the soil. So you can see me there coppicing some of the fish bean, which is Tephrosia vogale and Tephrosia candida, into the field. This is one of the field that we also transformed using these nitrogen fixing trees. That was in July 2014, and this is in July 2015. You can see now the maize has been harvested in this field. You can see the maize stalks and all the crop residues have been brought back to the soil as used as a mulch. But now you can see the fish bean here minus the mango trees, but you can see the fish bean here, you know, taking over, providing shade, fixing nitrogen, as well as the leaves adding biomass, dropping to the soil, adding the biomass quantity to the soil. The other reason why we're promoting fish bean is that after 1 year or two, the farmers are able to cut and use it as firewood. So we are feeding the soil. The farmer is able to produce enough food, but also after a year or two, the same farmer is able to access firewood because in these normal farming systems, a farmer would not be able to find firewood because there are not trees growing, and they will not be able to have biomass because there's nothing growing, and they'll not be able to have nitrogen fixed from the oxygen because there's nothing growing in there. So this, if you look at this as a bare land, and this within a single year, that's a milestone to us. So we can easily transform our fields into more productive farm systems by using fast-growing nitrogen-fixing trees. Like I said, we work with 400 farmers in 2 different districts. We started with 150 farmers who went through training on rice farming. And then later on, we had 200 farmers who were sponsored by Church of the Resurrection to do a full permaculture training course. 20 were funded by ARC to attend one of our permaculture design courses, and 20 were funded by us to go through a full permaculture design course. 160 haven't gone through the training yet, but they are also, they have been given tree seedlings and seeds to plant in their maize fields. They haven't yet gone through the whole permaculture training, but they have been given the trees to plant. So far, all the 400 farmers have planted trees, both around their homesteads and in their maize fields. And 400 hectares have been planted, 400 trees have been planted. 50,000 of the trees were sponsored by ARC. So this is a 2 weeks old fish bean, Tephrosia vogale or Tephrosia candida. So this year alone, we helped 400 farmers, like I said. 200 of these, 200 of the trees have been planted in the maize field and the fish bean trees. So among the 400,000 trees that we've planted, 200,000 of the trees are nitrogen fixing trees. And the other 200,000 trees are trees which have been planted around the homesteads. Those are fruit trees and other trees that will be providing timber and fruits and food and vegetables to the farmers. So, like I said, 100 farmers have been sponsored by ARC and to plant 50,000 nitrogen fixing trees in their maize fields. We did not establish a tree nursery because we started this project a little bit late. That's why we opted for direct planting. and that's why we also opted for fish bean. But later on, we'll be introducing Lucina, which will be planted together with the maize, and it will also be helping fixing nitrogen. It will also be used as firewood. It will also be harvested and be used as animal fodder. So some of these trees, if you see this in this photo, some of these trees have been planted on the perimeters of the farm, whilst some of these trees have been planted together, incorporated together with the maize on the ridge where the maize is planted, 5 meters apart, so that we've got enough room for the maize, and the fish bin will be coppiced. Others call it chop and drop. So this is one of the fields I was demonstrating how to coppice the fish bean, fast-growing nitrogen-fixing trees. You coppice it and you use it as green manure as well as a mulch. Some of the nitrogen-fixing trees which we are promoting the farmers to be growing natural nitrogen-fixing trees. This is called kawidzi in our language. It's one of the famous nitrogen-fixing trees, which is natural, and it also attracts edible caterpillars called kawidzi. So we call it kawidzi in our language, not just in Malawi, but also in Zambia and Zimbabwe, these countries who share, we share the same language. So if you go to Zimbabwe and Zambia, they also call this kawidzi because it's one of the natural nitrogen fixing tree which attracts edible caterpillars. So this farmer discovered that he's got some of these trees, and we encouraged him to keep the trees because we want the trees to be dropping biomass, attracting the edible caterpillars for the farmer, fixing nitrogen. So now you can see agroforestry attracting edible caterpillars, which is a great protein source. So this is one of the communal tree nurseries which has just been established a week ago. So this is 1 week old, and the idea is that the goal is that we would like them to have up to 20,000 trees before winter, which is May, June, July. And before the rain season, we should be able to have enough trees. So since we started with fish bean, planted together with the maize, now in these tree nurseries, which we are encouraging the farmers to establish, they'll start incorporating both natural and these other exotic nitrogen fixing trees, and they'll have a variety of all these. So we are also giving them Brachystegia seeds. We also gave them Periostigma fungi, others call it camel's foot tree. We call it chitimbe in our language. So we've given that to them as one of the nitrogen fixers. So this one is fodder for animals, food for people, as well as one of the highly promoted agroforestry tree, the camel's foot. The fruits pounded and made into flour, and the flour is used for baking. And we also make juice from the flour that's made from this tree. And if the fruit is given to cattle, there's a belief that it facilitates milking. So for the farmers who've got cattle, cows especially, and the milking cows, they'll be using fruits from these nitrogen fixing tree planted in the rain-fed season of farmland. And then you can see a win-win situation there between a farmer and the farm. The farm is benefiting and the farmer is also benefiting likewise. So this is the last slide, the final slide, the last slide of my presentation. So these are small forests, natural forests, which we are encouraging farmers to keep and protect and regenerate. The idea is that in the near future, we'd like to introduce beehives, beekeeping in these natural forests, so that the bees should be helping in pollinating their crops, and they'll be harvesting honey, as well as the edible caterpillars, giant crickets, fiber for making strings, mulching materials, composting resources, as well as timber and firewood. So yeah, that's what we're doing apparently with these farmers in Malawi, in Chinji district. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Biswick. That was good. I noticed a bit of a change on the PowerPoint. Yeah, some nice photos there. There's a few people had a few questions. One was the second to last slide. You talked about a tree for maybe for cows. And what was the name of that tree? That wasn't moringa, was it? Someone asked.
No, it's not moringa. It's called camel's foot.
And Roland typed in another name there as well. Leacina.
Lucina or Lucina.
Leacina,
We're
yeah.
talking about
No,
Lucina.
it's not looking at.
Is
It's
that the
called
same?
camel's foot. You can Google camel's foot or Peleostigma thorningi, but camel's foot is the easiest. So mostly in Africa, it's a natural tree, but because some of these trees have been cut, that's why we are trying to. We've got a seed bank at Pemakata Paradise Institute. That's why we are trying to give it to the farmers so that they can establish a nursery and they can plant it in their fields. But normally you find it in the woodlands, in the natural forest. It's called camel's foot.
Yeah. Maybe you could put it in the in the chat section, the name of the tree. That would be great.
I've
And
already done that.
yeah,
okay.
good. And any before we move on to Willis, any other questions about
Yeah,
the trees or anything?
I'm curious, Lueo, how are the farmers accepting these new ways? I know that they're so used to growing maize. Are they open to now incorporating trees?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We don't ask farmers so that they accept. We do demonstrate how it is done, and they get interested. So those who get interested, we collect names. Now we're getting some funding from Germany, and this organization gives us funding to just find interested people in permaculture and train them in permaculture. So we've got a very powerful demonstration center in Malawi. What we do, we try to do our things right and do what people believe cannot happen. So when these farmers visit, and it's very open to the farmers, they come and see what we've done. Those who are interested, they register, but we don't go about asking farmers to come and attend our trainings.
Yeah, wonderful, beautiful.
Yeah.
I got a question too, Luayo.
Yeah.
You were mentioning that you can use it as flour. Can it also be used as a substitute for wheat? Because that will be a great advantage.
Exactly. So Roland, we've been using this in Malawi. Most of the knowledge and the information have been allotted. So this is the reason why we've got this demonstration center to show Malawians what they've been already doing, that we can bring it back. So in the past, we used to grow finger millet, brush millet, and all of this could be used in place of maize. But now with the coming of maize, everyone grows maize, but they have already been using it for baking, for making juice, for making porridge, for cooking, whatever. But we're just reminding them what their parents used to do.
Really great, because then we can plant perennials, so we don't have the normal agricultural practices. So we regenerate the land then, while using same flour for maybe you can use this as well as for bread, because that I'm curious for.
Yeah, it can also be used to make bread, African bread. We call it chigumu in Malawi in our local language.
Very nice.
They call it African cake. So they make African cake out of it. But I like your point that we can focus on perennials other than seasonal annuals. because this will help us minimize energy, not just energy, but all of the inputs, because the system becomes self-managed and more productive than annuals, which are energy intensive and they take a lot of inputs and the like. So that's why we are pushing for food, like food forest or agroforestry in Malawi, so that farmers move away from seasonal short-term crops to more of self-managed food forest. And I've always been telling people we focus on regeneration than tree planting, because having worked with a lot of organizations on tree planting, we've seen the governments and most of the organizations in Malawi talking about trees on the nursery, like say giving us figures of the trees on the nursery, not trees planted and survived in the field. So for us, that we don't like that. That's why when we are giving people figures, we would like to give people figures of the trees planted and survived in the field, or trees protected and survived in the field, than trees on the nursery, which may have, let's say you may lose 10% of it due to poor transportation, and you may lose 40-50% of it due to poor management, and you may lose up to 80% of it due to poor maybe resource allocation and whatever. So all these factors affect tree planting. That's why we focus on tree regeneration than tree planting.
Very good, very good. I can't agree more.
Yeah, that's great. I wanted just to let people know that Dwight, our nursery man, is here. Can you? And I'll introduce you here after our next presenter, and then Roland from ARC is also joined. Roland, do you want to make a brief introduction, and then we're going to turn over to Willis. We want to keep going though, so keep it, if you can keep it brief. I know we could talk a lot, all the different programs you've been working with.
Well, nice to meet you all. Most people I know, but I see some new faces also. I'm Roland van Reena. I'm specialized in syntropic agroforestry. Syntropic agroforestry works with successional, or is also called successional agroforestry, because we believe that systems are succeeding each other. So especially for tree planting should be accompanied with biomass and as we call it, placentas, to safeguard the survival rate of the trees planted. But not only, they also produce food for the farmer while planting the trees. So I think that's very beneficial for farmers, to convince them to plant trees in their fields, because you can harvest vegetables in the meantime. So yeah, I want to keep it short. For me, it's I'm very concerned with the survival rate of the trees, because we can plant trees, but young trees are mostly very vulnerable. So I would suggest then that syntropic agroforestry could be this system that makes sure that the trees survive. That's my key point. And also I would like to see the feedback, because we can say that we plant trees. We can say we plant 1,000 trees, but can we follow up? How do we follow up this tree planting? That's my concern also. But then, yeah, this is only for my side. And I give them the microphone to Willis. Then.
Hello again. My name's Willis Orum. I'm from Kenya. I'm the founder of Regenerative Holistic Resource Center, which, according to the name, we try to do regenerative agriculture holistically. Apart from agriculture, we also support orphanages in Nairobi and Mombasa. Majorly why we focus in Nairobi and Mombasa is because of the alarming rate of orphans in the city. And what we try to do is we establish farms and also try to give them a way of feeding program. And already we have worked with the a few other orphanages also on doing that. So lately, what we have been doing, we have trained farmers on syntropic agriculture, and I can see most of the team here from Kenya are from our last classes in last year. So currently, what we want to do is want to plant trees, and in Rusinga Island, we have already set up a nursery. And the nursery in Rusinga, we are focusing on 3 groups of trees: nitrogen fixing trees, herbs, and fruit trees. And already we have about 10,000 trees that will first educate farmers and then later give them out. And when we give them out, we'll be monitoring every farm. And on our training, we have to see that they adapt to the syntropic way. You plant a tree, and while you're waiting for your tree, you'll also be harvesting something out of it. You get your food, you get a little finance out of it also to support your family. So in Rusinga, we want to focus on fruit trees, which will be supporting the families and getting food, and a little extra will be helping in getting financial support. Also, apart from giving out trees, we are rolling on teaching on FMR, farmers managed regenerative. By this, we'll be trying to revive lost trees that somehow they're still trying to survive in some sort of way. They're like shrubs, but they can be given life and grow back to trees. So we are also trying to do that because in our island, most of the trees that we were long there were all cut by charcoal farmers, charcoal burners. So we want to try and revive what we had. And also we'll be giving these women and families another way of livelihood. Apart from just cutting trees for charcoal, we'll try to support them get food from their farm while they wait for their trees, and also teach them on chop and drop, which also they can get a little bit of branches to get charcoal without destroying the environment. So in figures, last year we had managed to train 200 farmers, and with the 200 farmers, about 90% have shown positive results. And already I've also chosen another team from those who we had educated last year on syntropic agroforestry. And we also want to move with them forward in trees. And a few of them, like Geoffrey, Kenneth, already established a nursery, though it's not that stable, but they already established a nursery. So by end of this February, we'll hold a training that will bring everybody close, and we'll try and teach everyone on the best way how to train your community on tree management. We don't want just to plant trees, but we want to grow trees. There's a difference between planting and growing. So we want to see them portraying the right direction to their farmers and to their communities. I wouldn't want to take much of your time. I think I'll stop from there. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Willis. It's yeah, just fabulous work that you're doing. And I know that you're helping others to establish their nurseries too. And that's something that we really hope to keep expanding with you. So thank you for all your work.
Good. Thanks, Willis. If there's any, first off, if there's any questions for Willis, glad to take, he can take those now. If not, then we want to introduce Dwight from Guatemala. Dwight, are you? I want to make. I see you're on. So, um, yeah, really appreciate you joining. Dwight has played a really important role in providing lots of grafted trees, various type fruit trees and nut trees, etc. Um, with contour lines, and it's one of the reasons why we've been able to plant so many trees in Guatemala with your great support. And I know Sean is very appreciative. Maybe you could just I'll go ahead, maybe introduce yourself a little about the work you're doing, and then uh, I think it would be helpful for people to learn more about tree selection and grafting, and as people look to expand their tree planting programs. Thanks again for joining, Dwight.
Good. It's great to be here, and it's great to hear the different projects. I wish I didn't get to hear all of them, but boy, I when I hear about the focus on the syntropic, the succession and planting, starting with the legume trees, it's something that I didn't know about when I started. My focus was on finding fruit and nut tree species that would be an alternative after forests were cut over and degraded. And so we had we did do a lot of the people that plant the trees do put food crops between the fruit trees, but sometimes we have, that the soil, degraded soil, kind of needs those pioneer legume trees to kind of help rebuild the soil and to provide leaf foliage for I see the chop and drop idea. And so a lot of what we've done is we started back in 1987, and I mainly just did it on my farm, and then started a nursery with the fruit trees that I had, and would supply a lot of other organizations that planted trees. But yeah, I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot from these ideas, and yeah, I would say that the most important thing that I see about fruit trees is that it's so important to get the right genetic material for each climate, and for the market demand, whether it's for home consumption or to send to the market. It's really, if you get the right clone, the right seeds of the right fruit or nut trees, sometimes for the right area, you can get way more production and more quality and more acceptance, and that makes a huge difference. And so where I live in Guatemala, lots of people, they'll have little food forests in their backyards because they'll eat fruit and then kind of just throw the seed out there. And when they're out cleaning the weeds, if they see a fruit tree, they'll let it grow. But sometimes those trees grow high and tall and don't put out good fruit, and so they kind of just shade everything else out, and they don't really get a lot of food out of them. And so the work that we do on propagation, just different kinds of propagation, grafting, and actually traveling around in the neighborhood in different countries, finding the best genetic material, that's kind of key with fruits and nuts. I guess I'll let you ask questions if you want to. I don't know what more to say. I'll let you ask questions.
Maybe before the questions, thanks, Dwight. Maybe talk a little about some of maybe the more unusual fruits that you grow, and what like maybe a little about breadfruit or jackfruit. What are some of the uses? What are some of the potential? I know those are those take, those are definitely take a little more moisture and, coal, heat units. Um, but yeah, and maybe any other kind of unusual trees that you're pioneering that people are interested in, etc.
Yeah, gladly, gladly. That's my focus ever since we started. A friend and I started our little plantation in 1987, and we focused on rambutan because we saw that had, commercial potential and people really liked the fruit, and so that was the first tree that we brought in. But at the same time, we just saw that there were just so many tropical fruit trees that people just didn't know about and weren't planting. And so we just put in whenever we would find a new fruit tree, we would plant it. And so now, within a few years, we had over 100 different fruit species growing on the farm. And as they came into production, we started to see which ones adapted best to that area and to our climate, and which ones people liked the best. And so I really like your disclaimer. Yeah, we're in a very humid tropical place, so we get rain pretty much all year round. We'll have maybe a 2-month dry season, but we average between 2 and 3 meters of rain a year, and it's fairly well distributed. So and we're near sea level, so it's hot. But so take into consideration that if you're not in that kind of climate, some of these might not adapt. But yeah, I guess I could go through a little history, but quickly, the most popular trees right now that people ask for with contour lines, where they're doing the succession or syntropic planting, are citrus. People really, I mean, the oranges, different kinds of lemons, and mandarin oranges are very popular because they're good for there's a market for them and you can eat them. A family can consume a lot of them. But after that is the next popular one is rambutan. And then we have a couple of native species that I don't know how common they are where you guys are, but there's one we call sapote or mame sapote, which is it's the endemic fruit here. And there's other relatives like the sapadilla or the chico sapote and caimitos, or which is a Chrysophila caimito is the name of it. But then we have, we found that besides rambutan, lots of the Asian, Southeast Asian tropical fruits adapt well to where we are. And of course, you mentioned like the jackfruit, which is actually from Southwest India and Pakistan, and that's where it's native to. And that does tremendously here. And it's adapts to a really wide climate. So it just has so many different uses. Probably the most highly demanded fruit we have right now is durian, because once people discover how tasty it is, and the demand for it, they want that. There's other relatives of the rambutan like lychees and longans and pulasan that we produce. And then there's some like from the Philippines. There's one called santol. There's a lansong, which is really popular in the Philippines and Thailand. I guess I could go on and mention, but if people, it's sort of like the problem we had with the camel toe tree. People might not know what they are. I was looking that up on the internet while during the discussion to try and see I guess we have it where we are too. But yeah, so yeah, that and the fruit trees, and I guess I should mention a couple of nuts. We raised one. It's called a monkey pod nut. That's from Brazil. The pili nuts, which are from the Philippines. So yeah, there's a lot of them.
Thanks, thanks, Dwight. One last thing I wanted to say before we open up to some questions. The part of the contour line project is they're growing a lot of cassava, um, and they figured out a way to dry it, and then and then making a flour, and they're now making pizzas with the cassava flour, and then using a starch that's in the process. They get a certain amount of starch when they convert into a flour, and those pizzas will be at the contour line center in Antigua, Guatemala, and yeah, so like Mr. Biswick, you may want to look at what local flours could you make a pizza type product when when you get all that extra time to open up a center on that road. I know you've been thinking about that at some point, but yeah, so really interesting how you can make breads and pizzas with local regenerative food products that you're growing. So let's open up to some. Go ahead, Mr. Biswick.
Yeah, thanks for that. Actually, we grow plenty of cassava here on the farm. I should be sharing some of the photos later, but you can find most of the photos on my Facebook page as well as on our YouTube channel. We grow a lot of cassava, but it'll be interesting to explore how to make pizza out of the flour. But in terms of cassava, we've got plenty of cassava on the farm.
Yes, you may want to connect up with Sean's wife. They've Nikte, her father is like a mechanical expert, and he's come up with some equipment to do that. So yeah, so they're doing that, and we'll one of the future presentations we're gonna talk about that. So something to to look at. Now I know in Nigeria they make a lot of cassava flour and export it to the United States. It's one of the big products exported. But locally, it's something to look at. So let's go ahead and open it up to questions to Dwight about any questions you might have about trees, fruit trees, or grafting or things like that.
And if there aren't any specific questions, is that?
Maybe I could ask. I would like to know maybe if people could list some of the specific varieties of the best fruit tree, like the fruit trees that are being incorporated into projects. What varieties are like? How are you propagating right now, and and how do you select the genetic, which variety of each species is being planted?
Yeah, and maybe that's something people could put in the chat as well, unless there's something they really want to bring to everybody's attention. I do know it is getting late over there, but yeah, that's a wonderful question. Anybody has a good answer that they want to share?
Most of the trees Dwight mentioned are maybe we can try those out in Seattle because there might be enough rainfall. So Kenneth, maybe that's something for you. If you want to try out those. The Sapote is very good for drought resistant areas because they grow crazy in Curaçao too. And Curaçao got still a third of the rainfall of Rusinga Island, for instance. So that will be a very nice choice. And I like the idea of cassava because cassava is really always used as in tropical agroforestry. You cannot set up a system without cassava because cassava is considered the bottom of the forest. Very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pizza, local pizza made from local flours. A great idea. Everybody, who doesn't like pizza?
We make chips with cassava, but pizza that's new. But I like the idea very much.
Yeah. And then you can take the greens, from the gardens and put it on there. Yeah, that local food, there's Dwight, there's a question if you might look in the chat room, chat section, Jonathan had a question.
I'm not very good at Zoom. I
Okay,
really
I'll
don't
read
know.
it. I'll go ahead and read it. No worries. um, uh, Jonathan Oweni asked, hope I pronounced that okay. How long does your grafted fruit trees take?
Yeah, that's basically each tree varies, but the huge advantage of one of the huge advantage of the grafted trees is that usually they come into bearing way faster than the seedling trees. So, for example, the rambutan, we usually a grafted tree, it takes 1 year in the nursery. So we plant the seed, a year later we plant in a field, and usually within another year there's the first fruit, but it's usually just a very small amount of fruit. So we really say that it's 3 years till you really start to get like a heavy crop, to sell more than to just be happy because you got a few. And the citrus is about the same. Some of the trees take longer. Like some trees will take 4 to 5 years. The sapadillas that Roland mentioned are usually about the same, about 3 years. And like a sapadilla, if you plant just the seed, sometimes that will take like 8 or 10 years to get fruit. One tree that's a little bit different is the jackfruit, which sometimes will start to bear fruit in 2 or 3 years from a seedling, and sometimes takes longer if it's grafted. But that one's a little bit of an exception. But the big thing that's huge about grafting, usually it's a lot faster, and you know what you're going.
Looks like Dwight, you went in and
Can I
out
add
there.
something to that?
Yeah,
Right?
I'm on my phone call tried to come in, but I'm back.
Mr. Biswick, you had a question, or your floor is to you.
No, I wanted to add to Dwight's response in relation to how long would the grafted trees take. So sometimes you can also think about propagating your trees sexually and asexually. So if you are propagating your trees asexually or vegetatively, the trees would start producing fruits right away when the mother plant is flowering or producing fruits. Grafting and budding, so you're taking part of the, let's say grafting, you're taking a scion from a fruit that's already producing fruits, from a tree that's already producing fruits, and the rootstock from a tree that's got very good root characteristics, and you're joining the two, the rootstock and the scion. But in a sexual vegetative propagation, you're just taking part of the plant. So whether it's a root, shoot, or branch, you stick that into the ground or maybe in the tube right away. When the mother plant is fruiting, you start getting fruit. So we mostly focus on that when we're working with people who does not have patience, you know, instead of focusing on grafting and budding, you can say, okay, we start with vegetative propagation with cuttings and truncheons and runners and the like. Then grafting and budding will come later.
Yes, when you can, the trees that are easily propagated like that, it's, yeah, you can save some time. But yeah, that's a good summary of some of the basics of asexual
What about
propagation.
aircrafting, Dwight?
Excuse me?
What about aircrafting, Dwight?
Yeah, well, you know, we do that. Depends on the species. We use you mean like an air layer, like a marcotte, or I'm not exactly sure by air grafting.
We do we bind a little piece of a tree and we put a plastic sack on around it and put a little soil in top in it.
Right,
So
right, exactly.
yeah. And then
Yeah, we
start
call that.
producing root.
Yeah, that's how we propagate several species that way. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Dwight, that's not grafting. It's propagation, right?
Well, grafting is a, propagation is a general term for the different ways of reproducing trees. You can propagate with seeds or asexual propagation without seeds. But yeah, there's different words for in English, like for the air layer or marcotte, that's like air grafting. There's different names for it, but yeah, the concept, I really like the way you summarize the concept. The idea is to use the material from a bearing plant, a plant that's a mother plant that's already got fruit on it, so you know the quality of it. And if you take that material, whether it's from an air layer or an air graft or a bud or a scion, if you put that on a rootstock, or if you can put it in the ground and however you propagate it, you generally get faster production, and you know the quality. So it's pretty.
I forgot to mention that we do it on the branch, the branch itself. So we don't cut the branch; we leave it on the branch. Just put a little soil around that branch.
Right.
And then later on, when it develops roots, then we cut it. So it's really not.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was trying to differentiate between propagating and grafting, but we call it marcotting, aerial roots, or air layering. You can also do it in the ground, which is called ground layering. But I was saying that if you are saying budding or grafting, you are taking a scion and connecting with a rootstock. So these are two different plants. When you're doing marcotting, air layering, or aerial roots, you are using the same plant. The same plant, you just give it a cut, and then you add a little bit of soil and you wrap it with a plastic, maybe whatever, so that you can see the roots developing. Papayas will take a single month, and guavas will take 3 months. Apples take 3 months, and citrus takes 3 months. So I was just trying to differentiate the two between propagating, which is multiplication, grafting and budding, which are, let's say, joining two different parts of the plant from two different plants.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Some species work a lot better with different propagation methods. There's some species where in some climates you need a rootstock to handle diseases in the soil, and so you have to raise the seedling and then graft it and bud it. And other species can do they can do well with, you don't need to do that. You can just put the rooted branch in the ground and they do well. You have to go by each species and variety to see which works best. Also preference. People have their preferences. Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks for the exchange there. This is good. That's why we wanted you to join here.
Yeah.
There's another question from Willis. Dwight would like to know also at what stage of the tree can it be grafted? Because sometimes I see be like a grafted at a younger age that they don't produce too much fruits as expected.
Right. It's always best to for certainty's sake to take budwood from a tree has a proven quality of fruit and is bearing well. But sometimes I'll give an example of what's happened to me, which maybe other people have had this experience too. But like sometimes I'll get some scion wood from a long ways away. So for example, a friend of mine might travel to the other side of the world and bring back one little scion of a certain variety that I really want bad. It's a special variety. And then, so I will graft that. I'll have a rootstock ready and I'll put that on my rootstock. But I usually don't want to wait for that to produce before I start taking more scion from that, because it's just one little plant and I want to make sure that I multiply it so that I don't lose it. So sometimes I won't wait. And I mentioned that just to say that I've seen and lots of people that raise fruit realize that sometimes if you get there's the new variety, the new flavors, the fruit that people really like, it's really exciting. It can really make a difference on how well the fruit sells or how people like to eat it. So that's just to note one reason why we might not wait sometimes.
Excellent. Appreciate that. Well, this has been a good for us to for people to connect here and ask some questions and learn what people are doing. There was a suggestion of maybe we should do a WhatsApp group for the ARC network of allies. I see we have a hand up also. So before I call on you, Jonathan, just want to say, yeah, we were thinking about doing a WhatsApp group for like globally, but this would be maybe something could be a little more thoughts. Anybody who thinks that would be helpful to do a WhatsApp group for the ARC allies and community projects. If you have any thoughts, put it in the chat, and then the gentleman who just raised his hand, raised the hand. Go ahead.
Mine, I just want to ask again another question. Like I see some grafted fruit trees here in Uganda. Like they only grow up and only maybe put for 1 or 2 seasons and they don't put again. What could cause that?
They I didn't quite. They don't grow well. They die. I didn't understand quite what
No,
happens.
they grow very well. Then they put fruits like 1 or 2 seasons, and then they stop putting. What could be the cause of that?
Yeah, oh, there's so many things that could happen. There, the plants, there's so many diseases from. You'd have in the roots. You'd have to see. It's really hard to say. There's many, like there's many things that could happen. Yeah, I don't know. Are they new trees? Is it a new species that hasn't been raised in that area, or is it something that normally grows well?
No, mangoes maybe and avocados. They are normally planted like in Uganda, yeah, mostly.
Huh?
And yeah, and I've seen that that happened several times, and I was asking myself what happened after, like it has grown, then it puts the fruits maybe once or twice, then it never puts it.
Yeah. Sometimes it could be a problem with the rootstock. It takes a long time sometimes with fruit trees to find the right combination for the right climate. So that's why it's good to look around and start with what produces already, what people like and what they want. So before you do too much new stuff. I've had experience. There's some fruit trees that I would plant on my farm, and I think, wow, these are great. They're doing well. Everybody's going to want these. And then when they see them, they try them, and people don't like them very well. So I think, well, gotta plant what people want.
Well, thanks, Dwight, again for zooming in and presenting, and then for all the other presenters, Willis and Jackson and Mr. Biswick and Hannah and Stella from ARC. Really appreciate it. For those who are in Uganda, I put a Facebook link to Ray, my friend who's in Uganda. You might want to follow him. And I know we're doing a call with a few people that are connected maybe into Uganda later this coming week. I can't remember. And thanks again for everybody. Unless there's any other questions or comments, I think we'll go ahead and close up. Stella or Hannah, anything else you'd like to say?
I don't think so, but certainly thank you to everybody. And let's really keep up the great work. And as we like to say, let's regenerate together and get these trees planted and keep it growing.
Yeah, let's regenerate. Let's not wait for another decade or two. The time is now. Yeah. Thanks everybody for zooming in. Everybody have a great rest of your day and
good night, and thank you for staying up late. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.